Welcome back, everyone. 14 after the hour, and there's a new profile in the Boston Globe about Republican presidential hopeful Jeb Bush. Of course, Jeb Bush, another one of the Bush clan, a potential third President Bush, because America has been clamoring for such. He went to the prestigious boarding school Phillips Academy in Andover, Maryland, and the Boston Globe reports on his frequent pot smoking during his time as a high school class, in his high school class, saying, quote, "I drank alcohol and I smoked marijuana when I was at Andover. It was pretty common," end quote. And the classmates of Jeb Bush noted that he smoked a notable amount of pot. So not just some casual dalliance, but a notable amount of pot. There's also some reports that he was selling as well, not just marijuana, but hashish. But of course, during Jeb Bush's political life, he has been adamantly opposed to marijuana and drug law reform. Just this past summer, when Florida was attempting to pass a constitutional amendment to allow for medical marijuana use, Jeb Bush strongly urged Floridians to vote against the initiative. This is his quote back in August. "Florida leaders and citizens have worked for years to make the Sunshine State a world-class location to start or run a business, a family-friendly destination for tourism, and a desirable place to raise a family or retire. Allowing large-scale marijuana operations to take root across Florida under the guise of using it for medicinal purposes runs counter to all these efforts," end quote. So that's Jeb Bush expressing how medical marijuana in Florida would be anti-tourism, anti-business, anti-family, and anti-elderly. I wonder if he could explain that a little better to my friend Kathy Jordan in Parrish, Florida, who has been alive for almost 3 decades now, thanks to medical marijuana. Apparently, Kathy needs to continue to suffer and possibly be prosecuted for her marijuana use so that we won't scare people from going to Disney World or something like that. Of course, Jeb Bush has been opposed to this for a long time. He was the governor of Florida previously, and during his time as Florida governor, he opposed laws that were proposed that would give treatment instead of jail for nonviolent drug users. He also backed mandatory minimum sentences for drug possession offenses. But interestingly enough, Jeb Bush's daughter, Noelle Bush, faced drug rehabilitation and then charges for her sneaking drugs, I believe it was cocaine, crack cocaine, I believe, into the rehab. She was caught by the rehab for smoking or for smuggling crack into the rehab, and she got light treatment. She got a special treatment because she was the daughter of a Bush. And the hypocrisy of such a man who could have his own family difficulties with addiction and his own youthful indiscretions with buying, selling, and using marijuana and hash, that is a kind of hypocrisy that will increase your chance for cognitive dissonance by at least 6.7 Nancy Graces. And another person that noted this is another Republican presidential hopeful, Senator Rand Paul, the Republican from Kentucky, who told the Boston Globe, quote, "This is a guy who now admits he smoked marijuana, but he wants to put people in jail who do. You would think he'd have a little more understanding then." Rand Paul continued to say, quote, "Had he been caught at Andover, where he went to school, he'd have never been governor, and he'd probably never have a chance to run for the presidency," according to Rand Paul, who continued, quote, "I think that's the real hypocrisy, is that people on our side, which include a lot of people who made mistakes growing up, admit their mistakes, but now want to still put people in jail for that," end quote. I have to agree with Senator Rand Paul on this issue, and this is starting to show how there the marijuana issue could become a divisive issue within the presidential primaries among the Republicans, 13 of whom have thrown their hat into the ring so far, indicating they wish to run for president. We could see a divide between those Republicans who are a little more forward thinking on the issue, a little more progressive, maybe not to the point of supporting legalization, but like Rand Paul, supporting decriminalization and supporting medical marijuana. It also augurs for a very interesting divide between the Republicans and the potential nominee for the Democrats, the considered frontrunner Hillary Clinton, who herself is not that friendly on the marijuana issue, maybe even not that far away from Jeb Bush's perspective on the issue. With that in play, it also shows how the marijuana issue in 2016 is going to be so critical for reformers to keep hammering home, to try to divide the Republican Party, to try to create that wedge and create that momentum and initiative to push the Democratic Party in response to be the party supporting the right of the people to determine their fate with respect to marijuana laws. It's the low-hanging fruit of the 2016 election. It's the issue that so many young voters are very attuned to. The first part